and your team was. We've been working with you and your team. We're recording in process, continue. Okay. For several months right now. So that's been very, very helpful. What we want to really achieve this evening is to answer questions and hear comments from the community about this clean energy program. And that's our purpose this evening. We want the participants to ask any questions that are on their minds, and we're more than happy to respond and get the answers to everyone's questions. Before we get to the questions, I would like to introduce the members of the task force who are here this evening. And because my screen is not giving me a gallery view, so if the members of the task force would like to introduce themselves, that would be great.
I'm Patty Kelly.
I'm Skip Arthur. Did you hear that?
Yep.
Yeah, we got Skip, we got Patty. Who else is here?
Elizabeth is here.
Who is that?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Elizabeth, yes, thank you. Is
So I
Mike-
take it the video is off for us.
All we see is the message from the Saugerties Town Board.
Here's Patty.
Hey,
There's Patty. But I see no video of myself.
Yeah, I'm having as well a difficulty getting everybody on my gallery view. So that's why I was asking you all to.
well, Jeff has the letter from the town board up on the screen, so that's all we're seeing.
Oh, I can see, I see Patty and Mary and Skip myself.
Right, but we don't see any of the members of the community who are
Oh,
here.
I see.
And again, yeah, so if you do, maybe it's a matter of seeing the participant window. You can click on the participant window and you can see a list of names. And if they're on video, you can see their videos as well. And my
there-
editor's been encouraging folks to keep their video off until we get to the question and answer section. But let me know if you need more help. You can send me a chat too and I can give you some guidance about trying to locate that view of the participants.
Is there a reason you wanted to keep this letter up on the screen rather than all of the people on the screen, Jeff?
Oh, just something I started with for backing. I could turn off the slides if you'd like. Would you prefer to do that?
Mary, would it be beneficial to have the people up on the screen?
Sure, if that works for Jeff, I'm good with that.
We can see who we're going to be talking to.
There you go. Is that better for you, Mary? Can you see everybody now?
I'm still working on it. I haven't had this problem before, but.
Let's see, stop.
We've got a total of 21 participants here.
Okay.
And
I
I
see
won't read
people.
off names in case somebody wants to say semi-anonymous. So
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's get started. In addition to the task force members who are here this evening, we also have on the task force Carol Furman, Leslie Superdont, Marianne Rolston, Susan Murphy, and Steve Weir and Nicole Koskos. So that's our task force team. And I just want to make a few comments that I think are pertinent here for those who are listening in and participating, just to let you know why the task force is so supportive of this particular program. And the main reason that we are is because this program gives us as homeowners and business owners in Saugerties the opportunity to choose 100% renewable energy. And we think that is just so important. And the reason we think it's so important and the reason we're so enthusiastic about this program is because we know that if we have 100% renewable energy, we are not emitting greenhouse gases into the into the atmosphere. And we feel that by embracing this program, we are really contributing to the environment, the health of our town, the environment of our town. So that is really that's the underlining reason why we're so supportive of it. And just in terms of the features of the program that we are supportive of, is that we have the fixed rate, and it's a good rate for renewable energy. And it's fixed for 34 months, which is a good part, which is important. And it's also we can opt out at any time, we can opt in at any time, there's no fees, there's no penalties. So those are the basic reasons why the task force really is so supportive of the program. And I wanted to just make that statement on behalf of the task force. So now let's get to any questions that are out there that folks have, any comments that you have about the program. I know when we as a task force started, we had a ton of questions about the program. So we understand that the community and residents are going to have many questions rather as well. So Jeff, let's go to questions. Are there any in the chat box? Or if anyone has a question, they can raise their hand, and Jeff, you can recognize them. And may I just say that anyone in the task force who wishes to respond or answer, just raise your hand, and Jeff will call on you to respond as well. So let's get started, Jeff.
Sure, and people can, as I saw the folks at Regina Noble, your hands are up, I can see on video, and you can also press a button to raise your hand by a little hand symbol too, if you want to raise your hand, and I'll keep an eye out for that. But yeah, the folks at Regina Noble, please go ahead.
Well, I'm Paul Noble. I'm on Regina's computer with her. How does this program differ from the county program which was recently announced?
That's a really good question. Mary, do you want me to take that?
Well, let me start, and then you can kind of pop in on it.
Great.
I believe that you're referring to the Solarize Ulster program.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that is a community solar program. It's different in this respect. What CCA is doing is providing us with the energy supply so that we can get 100% renewable energy. What the community solar program is doing is allowing us to subscribe to a solar farm. And by subscribing to that solar farm, we can then get up to, I think it's, what is it, up to 10% off on our electricity bill. They're two separate programs. They're compatible. We can be in CCA and also be in the Solar Ulster community program, solar program as well. We can do both. They're different.
Do you mean as individual subscribers we can be in each program at the same time?
Absolutely.
Yes.
You can be in the same program at the same time. You can take advantage of the Solarize Ulster program, which we as a task force have been looking at and hope to offer to Saugerties residents as well. But as a county resident, you can also participate in it. Can I?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that doesn't really clarify. Why would one need to be in both two programs? My original thought was if the Saugerties program doesn't have access to enough solar power, can they obtain power elsewhere to maintain individuals' power sources? And would that possibly be from the county? But since you can belong to both programs, that may not be an issue.
Can I answer that question?
Please.
Go ahead.
So the CCA program is the source of your electricity. The community solar, what you're doing there is you're subscribing, you're supporting a solar array.
Yeah.
You're not getting your power. Their power does go into the grid, but what you're doing by subscribing to that, you're supporting. And as a reward for doing that, they give you a discount on your bill.
Yes.
So that's how that works. And the CCA is the one where the source of the power, comes from your electricity. The community solar isn't directly a source of your power, but you're investing in that. You're a part of that. So what the state put this program up to encourage solar arrays, to encourage more solar power.
Yeah.
So what you're doing by being in that is you're supporting that. And as a reward, you get basically 10% off on your bill. So they're two different concepts.
Okay, but the Saugerties plan does not offer a 10% discount. Is that correct?
Exactly. What they do is that Jewel Energy has gone out and found a good deal for the source of electricity. And that rate, that's a better rate than you can get anywhere else for renewable electricity. And they've done that, and that's what the CCA is. That's the source, that's the power that you get. The community solar is something that you subscribe to invest in. They don't give you power directly, but because of the support for that program, for that array, you get a discount on your whole bill.
Yes.
Mr. Noble, this is Mike Harkavy. Right now, you are getting your electricity through Central Hudson.
Yes.
Okay? The community solar is not a provider of electricity.
Yes, of course.
So right now you're getting your electricity from Central Hudson, which is basically 90% fossil fuel. So basically what this program is doing is switching you over from Central Hudson to the CCA, where you'll be getting 100% renewable. Part of that will be coming from solar.
Yes, and that's an excellent program. I'm very supportive of it. I'm a little confused because if we can belong to both programs, am I then entitled to 10%
Yes,
Yes.
off my bill by belonging to the Saugerties program and to the county program?
Yes.
Yeah.
right. Or you can wait a little bit and become part of the Saugerties Solarized Saugerties program with the county, and you'll get 10% off your bill as a CCA as well. But
Down the road in due time, you mean?
yeah, we're going to be doing it within a couple of months. We're hoping to do it. Is that correct, Barry?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no reason.
We just wanted to give people an opportunity to get ask their questions about the CCA, because to introduce both at the same time is overwhelming. Even for us, I had a zillion questions about how the two went together. But if you're a CCA member, if you get your electricity through this program that has been set up, and then once we become part of Community Solar, you will start to get 10% off your regular bill from the CCA as well. It's all it all works together.
And you say that'll be in a matter of months, probably.
We're hoping, Mary, right, to start doing this in a couple of months. We just really didn't want to do both at once. It's just, you can just imagine that would be a little difficult.
And just to put a fine point on this so that we're really clear, the 10%, up to 10% if you join Community Solar. That will be up to 10% if you join Community Solar. There won't be a 10% discount if you join CCA. In other words, the CCA program is not offering a 10% or up to 10% discount. The only up to 10% discount being offered is when we subscribe to a community solar farm. Was that clear?
It seems to contradict what Patty just said, though. Am I incorrect?
You think it was a contradiction of what I said? I didn't mean it to be.
I'm sorry. Then I misunderstood.
No, what I was saying is that you can be part of CCA, and then when we join Community Solar, or you join Community Solar as a family, you
Yes.
will then start to see an up to 10% discount because you've become part of Community Solar as well.
And we can do that just by joining the Saugerties. Is that Saugerties a CCA or is it? Yes, it's a CCA. We can do that
Right.
just by joining the CCA.
Right.
So when
Am
you
I
think about it,
am I misstating that at all?
you're getting a really good rate in renewable energy from the CCA.
I understand, yes.
Yeah. And then when the community solar comes along, you're going to get a discount on that charge.
Okay,
So there-
all right, and so, to do that, we just need to join the Saugerties CCA plan,
Right.
and in due time, we may get a discount, and that'll be
Yes.
fine.
Yes, when you join the community solar, yes.
And
Okay,
actually, part of this program is that you don't have to do anything to join the CCA. It will happen automatically.
I understand,
it's
you have to
only
opt out.
people who want to
cannot-
opt out do
You don't
so.
opt in, you opt out, yes.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Just for one last bit of clarification, do you guys mind if I just show my bill graphic? That might help just to put a fine point on what we've been talking about.
Sure.
Thanks. I'll just show this one, just one slide for right now. All right, so can you guys see that sufficiently?
yeah,
All right, so this is, let me see if I can make it bigger too here. All right, so this is actually an image of my bill. I live down in Beacon.
I have my bill here as well, but go ahead.
Okay, yep, so I live in Beacon, and Beacon is one of the partner communities in CCA Electricity Supply. And I'm also a community solar subscriber too, to a Nexamp project that's not far from here. But there's a few points I just want to emphasize. It was said at one point that, you know, if you join the program, you transition from Central Hudson. Just want to emphasize to everybody, nobody leaves being a Central Hudson delivery customer. Since the late 1990s, Central Hudson is a delivery company. All the utility companies in New York are delivery companies. At the top of my bill here, not in a red box, are all the delivery charges. This is what they make money on. They get paid to be a reliable deliverer of energy. And in this case, just electricity is what we're looking at. So this is the delivery charges that never changes. It includes the meter charge, the first line item, just for having a meter on my house. I pay $50.
Mhm.
So that doesn't change. That is storm damage repair. That's the billing service. That's customer service. Nothing changes with regard to that.
Uh-huh.
What we're talking about, the CCA program that's in effect in Saugerties now, is the middle section. It's a matter of who's making the decision about how and where the power is made and how much it costs. And as a member of the CCA program, what we did, you have just one line item here. And instead of Central Hudson making that decision as a pass-through cost, they make no money on it, but they also have no input on it. They make the decisions that they want to make. And as it was said, it's predominantly fossil-based fuel sources that they go
Yeah.
to, only about 10%. Through this local program, we have sourced, we pick a supplier that ensures that our supply dollars go only to renewable producers in New York State. And that's the rate for the previous program. That's not the current rate. This is my bill from the last program that just ended in Beacon, and we have a new rate. In Saugerties, I can show you the rate there. But this fixed rate is always multiplied by whatever my electricity use is. So as Skip was saying, this is the way that I can claim in my house that I am paying only for renewable production from New York State sources. So my supply is green, and everyone who stays in the program in Saugerties, their supply will be green too, for however much electricity they use each month. Completely separate spot on the bill down here is where community solar lives. Community solar, you'll note, it's a deduction, it's a credit, and it's to target the 10% off my entire electric charges averaged out over a year. To answer Catherine's question in the chat box, it's not just supply, it's supposed to be 10% of your entire electric charges. It's not tied on a monthly basis to how much electricity I used. And I'm intentionally putting my arrow at the amount of electricity I used. It's based on historically, on average, how much I use. But it's in a simple kind of business model that the developer has. It's converted to a monetary credit to target 10% savings, and it lives down here. All right, so that's all I just wanted to show. I hope that helps.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Who generates this bill?
This is a Central Hudson bill. This is all
Yeah.
Central
All
Hudson.
right, I just wanted to confirm. I thought that's what you said. I just wanted to confirm. Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
You know, I don't think most people, I know I didn't pay attention to it until I got involved in all this. You get your bill and you see the bottom line of your Central Hudson bill, and you pay that. Now I'm very conscious of the supply line and the delivery line. And I've become aware that the delivery of my electricity costs more than it does, twice as much as the supply. So what we're talking about in the CCA is simply the supply. And that is 100% renewable. The delivery charges are Central Hudson's, and we have nothing to do with what they charge, and they are going to charge that every month, just as they always do. But the supply line is what we're focused on.
Okay, is there another question, Jeff, in the chat box that we need to address?
Yep, there's a question from Haitum who wanted to just make sure. He had the question about when people can opt out. He asked, did you say we can opt out at a later date if we wanted? And I just replied to him and wanted to share with everyone that from the CCA opt-out program, yes, anyone could opt out at any time or opt back in. That's what my team is here to do, is to make it easy for people to opt out if they want to, or opt back in. And there's never a fee. There's no charges.
How does one opt out?
Well, what, I'm sorry, was that a question? Was that a statement or a question?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes. How does one opt out?
There are you have to do one of several methods to opt out of the program. And Mary, do you want to take that? I've been talking too much.
Yeah, sure. You have you received the letter from the about the program, did you not? Explaining the program.
Yes.
And message from the town board. Okay, in that packet, there is a card that you can sign, check, and send back to say you're opting out. That's one way to do it.
Okay, that's I'm talking about 2 years down the road when I lose the card.
That could be a week or two down the road for me.
Well, same here. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at that point, you could call Hudson Valley Community Program, which is Jeff's group,
Okay.
and facilitate it. That would be one way to do it. And they also have a website where you can go, hudsonvalleycommunitypower.com. You can go there and you can opt in or out at that site as well. Is there any other way, Jeff, that I'm not remembering?
That's enough ways. Thank you very much.
There's more. You can email us. I put an email in the chat box, as well as the website that Mary said. I put my phone number, the program helpline phone number, in there. And the good old days that I think we're going to get back to again someday, just in person. In any way that you can speak to the helpline team, you can just transfer. At that point in time, you don't need your card. You just need to trust us enough to share your Central Hudson account information with us. And that's all you need. Name on the account number, service address, just for confirmation.
Yeah.
Jeff, on that point, perhaps you might want to just explain why, if you send in a request to opt out or opt in, why it's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take a billing cycle or so. Could you explain why that's so?
Sure. Yeah, it's there's a team behind this program that makes it happen. It's kind of a beautiful symbiotic team making this program real, these good rates. The team includes, as I mentioned with my bill, Central Hudson is a delivery company. They're the ones that do all the billing. So they're important to receive the information that you want to be out of the program or you want to be in the program. The team, my nonprofit, the administrator that the communities picked, all together, we picked a supplier, a company that's called Columbia Utilities Power. And they're the ones that we've locked into an agreement to give us what we want, the fixed rate for 100% renewable. They're the ones that secure and oversee that connection to the sources of renewable power in New York State. So when a request for somebody to be in or out of the program is made, we need to communicate it to the supplier, and the supplier has a direct communication with customer data protected, but communicating with Central Hudson. It typically happens with, those communications happen within 48 hours. But the billing cycles that Central Hudson has, there can be a misalignment. So we say conservatively, the message, is everyone okay? We say conservatively the message that people receive in a reply that can take up to 2 billing cycles. But in reality, it can take up to 1 billing cycle and often less. But it's just because of the communication between the companies.
Who is the chairman of the team or director of the team?
I think what you might be referring to is the administrator. It's the company that all the communities picked to oversee the program.
Does the team put out, or the organization put out any kind of newsletter or updates on things at all?
Well, let me just, there is a partnership. The name of the program that you've seen on the letter, and I can put it back up. The name of the program is the Hudson Valley Community Power Program, or the partnership. Then we mentioned the Hudson Valley Community Power.com website, and there's lots of good information there. We also have a Facebook page, and we do meetings. You know, my job is to be within the community, and I enjoy it. I think members of the community enjoy it. Maybe it's too much that we're there, but we do consistent outreach and education, including updates on the program, and also some other different benefits. Like we developed a how to read your bill course with Central Hudson. And we, you know, in the good old days when we could offer it live, we offered it live, but we also have recorded versions of it. So there are lots of resources for this program available to the community members, including updates on the program.
Yes, it's difficult to anticipate change like this when you've been dealing with the same company for 50 years. But it seems everything, thank you for your answers. They're very, very complete.
And if you can get those numbers, if those numbers that we just gave you, websites and all that, if they just go out of your head, you could check on our website, or you could check with Leanne, who was the liaison on this, Leanne Thornton. Any number of people could tell you how to either opt in or opt out after the fact.
Yeah.
So that you don't worry if you
I
can't.
asked you is whether about a newsletter or anything like that, because I'm sure Leanne is not going to be there forever.
Well, no, you don't know about that.
And that's true, but that would be interesting to put in the newsletter too. But information like that, changes that might be forthcoming or have happened, that we might want to keep up to date with.
What I might also,
many things in their mailing. There's always extra literature in the Central Hudson mailings, although I haven't seen any literature regarding this.
I might also add, to bring it just really close to home, there is our task force, our Climate Smart Task Force has a website, and it's climatesmartsaugerties.org. And we regularly, it's maybe Jeff can put it in the chat box as well. It's climatesmartsaugerties.org.
Climate.Saugerties?
Climate Smart Saugerties.
Are you saying Mark?
Smart.
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 Climate Smart.
Saugerties.
Mary, we have a question from Vivian.
Thank you.
Oh, no, from Megan. At the end of the 34-month period, will we get information on the new rate?
Yes.
That's from Megan Crawford.
Yes, towards the end of the 34 months, before the end of the 34 months, we will have the opportunity, the town will have the opportunity to continue with the program, to go out to bid for a supplier, for a rate, for the terms of the contract, whether it's 34 months again, or maybe longer, or maybe shorter. The answer is yes. You will get another letter. Hopefully, by then we'll be out of a pandemic and we can really get together at the senior center and really talk about this and explain this. But you will get hopefully you'll find out about it before you get the letter. Yes, you will get information about it. It'll be a new program. It could be the same period of the contract. It could be the same or a different rate. And it could be the same or a different supplier. So it's all depending on what happens at the end of this 34 months. It starts over again. Does that answer it?
Yes, thank you very much. It does.
Okay.
And if I could also add that there's no contracts involved. I'm not sure if that benefit was mentioned before, but
Oh,
there's-
that's a good point. Yes, Elizabeth, absolutely. We as residents have no contract with the supplier. We do not contract with the supplier. We don't go into a contract with the supplier and have a contract that says, well, you can't opt out unless you pay an opt-out fee or a cancellation fee. We don't have that. The only contract is with the administrator and the town. And that's among the town, the administrator, and the supplier. And that contract is, as we said earlier, that is the contract that drives and tell us what the provisions are for this program. So they can't be changed. They're in a contract.
There's also a question from Vivian. How does it work if someone has their own solar panels? We were involved with Solarized Saugerties.
Right, Vivian, we remember that well, right?
Vivian, that must be Vivian Beatrice.
Yeah, that's Vivian Beatrice, I'm sure. Yeah, so yeah, we remember Solarized Saugerties as well, Vivian. And many residents signed up for solar panels. If you have solar panels on your home, yes, you can participate in CCA, and you can get your supply from the CCA for the amount of energy that you don't get from your solar panels. If you get 100% of your energy from your solar panels, then you would not be part of a CCA. But if you get, let's say 50% or 80%, the percent that you don't get, you could get from the CCA. Jeff, you may want to enumerate on that or expand on that.
I think that was a great response, Mary. That's exactly it. It's, for solar system owners, there is typically, for most of them, there's a time when they need to buy power. And so when they need to buy power, if they're in the program, they would buy it at the supply rate of the program. It does not affect for those who overproduce and have a wholesale arrangement to sell back power at a wholesale price. That is unaffected. That stays the same because that was a pre-existing arrangement. So, and our program would never, if somebody puts a new system on, the arrangement for the wholesale price for excess production is separate from our program too. Our program rate is only for those times when those system owners need to buy electricity, typically the winter months or the shoulder seasons when it's less sun.
Okay, are there any other questions out there? Just raise your hand, folks, and unmute yourself if you want to speak or make a comment.
I don't see any hands nor additional
Oh, I
questions.
see Catherine has her hand up.
Okay.
I was just wondering, as far as you didn't talk about the rate is capped, but looking at my Central Hudson bill, I know the rate fluctuates throughout the year. Is Central Hudson regulated in any way that there would be some sort of cap, or could that really, the supply rate for electric really go to any rate with Central Hudson?
Skip, you want to take that one? I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, yes, no, it's a variable rate. I don't believe they have a cap. It can go very high or very low. It's up to them where they source their electricity. So the PSC may regulate that. I'm not sure, but for example, the average rate for the last 12 months was about 5.8 cents a kilowatt hour. That was the average. In the last month, it was 5.4, and in July, it was 6.9. So it varies quite a bit, and it can vary. And that's one of the beauties of this program. Whereas Central Hudson's rates vary up and down all the time. This rate, it's a guarantee. That's what the contract is. It's a guaranteed rate for the 34 months. So you know exactly what you're going to be paying for your electricity for all 34 months.
And I have another question. Was the Climate Smart Community or Committee thinking about tabling at any events in Saugerties? Is obviously, like, some of you have probably seen in a lot of the community forums a lot of negativity about the opt-out. So, and I think there's only a lot of people don't want any more Zooms or to be online. But is there any other ways you're getting, more information out to people or forums where they can ask questions?
I really wish we were not in the pandemic last year. It just totally gave us pretty much one option to do Zoom. And to answer your question, if it were not for that, we would have been out in the community. We would have been at the senior center. We would have been any place around town to talk about this program. Unfortunately, we didn't have that opportunity. Going forward, and as someone mentioned, what happens when after 34 months, hopefully at that point, we will be able to do events in the community.
But partly what Jeff's job is to do communication. So if you have questions, he should post he's got a number that they can call at any time, and the website is a help. So that's what Jeff's part of his job is, to answer your questions, so that you have that resource if you have questions. So you can go directly to him and he can, answer your questions. And he can probably post his number. I've talked to a couple people who have gotten, had questions, and they called Jeff's team and they got them answered right away. So he is available. That's his position in this whole cooperative thing, is to do community, outreach and community communication. That's what his position is.
Yeah, but I understand where Catherine is coming from, because as you know, back in 2016, when we did Solarize Saugerties, we had several events at the senior center and at a total tennis and around town. And there's is something that part of the communications within the community, I think, are very, very helpful. And like you mentioned, there are comments around about the program, and getting back to the you had mentioned, will Central Hudson's cost, how high can it go? I don't know, Jeff, do you know? Because we're not 100% sure that they're limited in any way in how much they can charge per kilowatt hour.
Nope, the supply rate, there's no restrictions on the supply rates. They do have regulation. They have to file a rate case if and when they want to change their delivery charges. But it's just the open marketplace when it comes to the supply.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that's out in the community, and when we saw the letters that came, and we saw the 0.0558 for Central Hudson, and we saw the 0.072 rate for the for 100% renewable, I think people read that as saying, hey, we're going to pay 0.0558 for our supply. That's what we're going to pay. And we're going to pay 0.072 for renewable. But, we don't know that. We know what Central Hudson's rate was on average for the last 12 months. That we know. We do not know what Central Hudson's rate is going to be for the next 12 months and the next 34 months. We just don't know. So I think people, when they saw that, thought, oh, well, that's going to cost me so much more. We don't know. We just don't know what Central Hudson's rates are going to be. I saw, Skip, you mentioned on your bill, I saw 0.09 at one point.
Yes.
On my bill.
That was my point about in July, even though the average over the last 12 months was 5.8 cents. Last month's was almost 7. So it varies all over the place. And I guess Jeff knows better than I guess they could charge whatever they wanted to charge. I mean, and I don't think they have to go into any kind of negotiations. They do for their delivery charges, but I don't think for the rate charges, it's whatever the market can bear. So in our case, that 7.2, that's guaranteed for the next 3 years, next 34 months.
And just to that point, if you go out on the open market and look for 100% renewable energy, which I did 2 weeks ago in July. And what I looked at to see, if I don't join CCA and I go on the open market and I want to get 100% renewable, what would the rates be? And I said, okay, I want the rate for 34, one of the criteria was it had to be a minimum of 36 months. Okay. And it had to be fixed, and it had to be 100% renewable energy. And when I went out on the open market and looked for that criteria, the rates that I got were 0.092. Another company was offering 0.09, and another company was offering 0.086. So an 0.72 rate for 100% renewable energy, I think, is, from my point of view, is a good rate. It's a good rate as for the 100% renewable. And I see that Jeff has a slide up now on what the July Central Hudson rate was for July, and it's 0.0697.
Right, and the chart that I made at the bottom is exactly the point you were just talking about. What the team and I did today, as a matter of fact, was we checked the open market, and I'll just let I can put this in the chat window. There's a state resource, a state website where you can compare rates. You can see what Central Hudson's latest published rate is, and you can see what the private ESCOs offer. The independent energy service companies like Green Mountain Energy, Viridian, Ambit, there's tons of companies out there. And exactly to what Mary was talking about, we looked at different contract lengths to see what was comparable in terms of rates that an individual customer could get in the open marketplace by entering into a contract. And these numbers are exactly consistent with what she was talking about. The nearest to what we have in our 34 months for the remainder of the Saugerties program at 7.29, 36 months was 0.0914, so 9.14 cents. 34 months, 9.39 cents. So it's right, it is up there. So this is the true apples to apples comparison in terms of rates. We've been talking about apples to oranges in terms of Central Hudson's very non-renewable sourcing rate, which is up here, these two lines up here.
And the other point I should have mentioned, what I also looked at is which of these companies had a cancellation fee.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do go on the open market and you try to, get yourself a better rate, hey, if you can do it, more power to you, but no pun intended. And also, and also make sure that there's not a cancellation rate or fee. If you with these other companies, you sign a contract and make sure that there's no fee if you want to opt out of whatever, ESCO, whatever group you're in. Okay, are there other?
There was no contracts and no fees to opt in or out. That's
Right.
another positive thing about the program.
Right. I see 14. I see, Jeff, are there more questions out there?
Well, Leanne just made a good point. She made a comparison to gas, saying we don't know what the future holds. She said a good example is the increasing cost of gas as it goes up from area to area. We don't know what it will be in 12 months, perhaps $4 a gallon. With CCA, this program, you know what your rate was going to be for 34 months, just exactly what you're saying. So thanks for that, Leanne. There is no other questions that I see. Anyone, hand?
Anyone raise your hand if you have another question or a comment or?
I can make a point while folks are considering something. Just to your point, Catherine, about us being out in doing public events and being out there and sharing information, we're not going away, and we want to encourage people to take advantage of this. The program, it does not matter how many people opt in or opt out of the program. That has nothing to do with the rate. So it doesn't matter if a lot of people opt out, or if everyone but one person opts out, the rate stays the same. But this is truly a public benefit to the community, and we want to make sure folks know about it. And folks can opt back into the program. So we'll continue to do outreach and education to make sure folks know about that. And right on the heels of what we were just talking about, this program was offered to, you received a letter if Central Hudson was making your supply decision. If you were one of the typically 10 to 15% of people that have a third-party contract, if you have a Green Mountain Energy contract, or if you have Ambit or Viridian or one of those other companies, you still have it. You didn't get a letter. So people have called, we've gotten a lot of calls asking us, why didn't I get a letter? That's one of the main reasons. If you have a third-party contract, you didn't get the letter, which is good because we wouldn't remove you from something that you signed up for. It's bad because you may not know that this program is potentially very, very beneficial to you. So that's why we'll continue to do outreach. And that's why I'll ask you guys to spread the word too about that. Also not included in the program, if you had a block on your account with Central Hudson, if you put a protection, basically, you're not included. And folks who are in the home energy assistance program, if they're in the bill subsidy program, they didn't receive this either, because the one and only risk of this program is that there can be months, as we've been talking about, when Central Hudson's rate can be lower than the fixed rate. So we can't guarantee savings, but it is, as we've been really reemphasizing, a very good rate, very competitive rate in the ways we've been talking about. And the other last reason, Joseph, I'm so sorry, I'll call on you in a second, Joseph. The village is not doing this program. They are working on launching this program, but right now it's just town community members. So a lot of folks have been confused if they're in the village and they didn't receive a letter. So just those are the main reasons. Joseph, your question?
Well, I guess my first thought was a comment, because we did go back 3 years on our bills from Central Hudson. And while there are highs and lows, no doubt, because of demand, they were pretty consistent with their averages over the 3-year period. Now, that can obviously, just like supply and demand, that can change. But my question is there still going to be a percentage of energy that will be needed from Central Hudson in this program?
Will there be a percentage?
No, we made a deal with Columbia Utilities to supply the electricity. And they supply only renewable energy, and that will be your supply. Your Central Hudson will no longer make your decision for supply. It will be, if you're in the CCA program, you'll be getting energy from Columbia, basically.
Okay,
So, no.
but in the letter, it mentioned that there's still going to be grid regulation, that in the event, say, there is a drop in energy from the program, that Central Hudson would have to kick in. Is that something that's expected, or is it built in?
Well, I don't actually think that was in the letter, Joseph. No, that's what's.
Well, are you saying then, if this power grid goes down somehow, we'll be out of power?
No, let's make just a clarification. What we've been talking about is through the program. If you're in the program and you accept the fixed rate, Central Hudson puts it on their bill for that fixed rate, and your electricity use is multiplied by that rate. And then Central Hudson, when you pay your bill to Central Hudson, they take the supply dollars and passing it through Columbia, your supply dollars go to renewable producers in New York State on the New York State grid. So it's a financial transaction that has very real implications in the present, and also powerful market signals going forward. But the program really facilitates on a statewide basis a changing in the proportion of renewable generation in the state. Physically, in terms of electrons flowing into your house, nothing physically changes. You're not on a separate grid. We're all still connected to the New York grid. And so we're all getting the electrons produced by all the current existing power production sources in New York State, which still are mostly fossil and nuclear-based sourcing. So physically, nothing changes. And the New York State Independent System Operator makes sure that there's reliability. But through this program, the supplier forward bid to secure with excess to make sure that your supply dollars absolutely go to renewable producers in New York State, and they produce an annual report to verify that. It's called an environmental disclosure report, indicating exactly where their sourcing was allocated from.
So based on your explanation, what percentage will still come from conventional sources?
That is based on the state grid, all the sourcing on the state grid. And I think I have to look at the numbers again for what it is. Renewables are I think in the overall mix, still in the teens approaching 20s, because we have a lot of hydropower in New York State. But this program, because of programs like this, the powerful market signals is going to change that mix. They're already slating significantly sized projects, solar projects and wind power projects, because of projects like this. because it's a guaranteed demand pool. So that mix will change, and we'll get more and more renewables on the grid in a reliable way, including battery backup.
So based on that, then, can it be truthfully called 100% renewable?
Yes, yes.
But your comment was that there still will be input from the grid, from other sources.
Nope, but it's absolutely the way the market works. You know, the energy market is two parallel marketplaces. It's the commodity, the physical transaction, and the attribute associated with how power is produced. And all of our supply dollars as members of these communities are going to renewable producers. So in the way that this marketplace works, you can say, yes, this is 100% renewable power by your supply dollars. So your household, your bill is sourcing 100% renewable. It's definitely getting into the theoretical weeds for some. And this is why we're creating a course for deep dive so people can really get to understand this, but it's absolutely true. And that's the way that the market works to allow these producers to work.
And also, if I might add, the contract with the supplier under contract must supply 100% renewable to for the program. That's contractual with the supplier. So we know that supplier is only putting in 100% renewable energy into the grid. I don't know if that helps, Joseph.
No, I appreciate that, but at the same time, the energy authorities can still have some. If I understood his comment initially, there still can be an input of non-renewable energy
into the grid.
That's correct.
From other sources, but not from the people we've contracted with. So we are paying them to put in all renewable energy. I mean, of course, everything goes into a big pot, and you're not getting the very electron that that was produced by the renewables. But what you're paying for is for that company to put that amount of renewable energy into the grid. And then it's a big pot. You're right. It's not guaranteed that the electron that comes into your house is from Colombia. But it is guaranteed is that for the amount that you use, Colombia is putting in that amount of renewable energy to the common grid.
Okay.
And that's guaranteed.
What I go back then is does anyone know the percentages that will not be from Colombia?
Now that's a whole different question than the CCA. That's a hard question to answer.
There's fairly good tracking. I just can't think of the numbers right offhand, Joseph. It's in that ballpark that I talked about, but I'd be glad to share a resource. Matter of fact, I'll jump online and I'll share the link to the EIA, the Energy Information Administration, and NYSERDA both have links to sourcing about what are the current grid mix.
Okay.
That helpful?
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else want to ask any other questions or make any other comments? I know one question that has come up is this going to increase our taxes as town residents? And of course, the answer is no, that this is not supported by our town, in our town budget in any way. And trying to think, are there any other aspects of this that anybody would like to raise or?
Well, only that we are not the first to be involved in CCA, and Jeff has a number, but we are at least involved with 10 other townships, most in Ulster County. So we're not the first, and we're hoping that other townships will be coming on board. I did hear that Kingston was going to get involved with the CCA. So we are not just one town doing this. Our neighbors are doing it also.
And the comforting thing is the 9 of the municipalities that we're going to partner with
That
have
went first.
already done it once, and they want to do it again. So the experience for those 9 communities is very positive because they're re-upping. They really want to do it again. So that's very heartening.
And as a task force member, when we first started considering this a couple of years ago, when we were just hearing about it, I called the supervisors and some people in the towns that were already going first, the town of New Paltz, Poughkeepsie, the village of New Paltz, to ask them, both from the supervisors and from some of the residents, how it was for them, what was their experience. All of them had no problem. They were just perfectly satisfied with it. There were no glitches. So we did check in to see what the experiences of the towns that went first. So there's a pretty good track record there. And all of them worked with the same group that we're working with. They had a different supplier because when you go out to bid each time, the supplier may change depending on what the bid is. But so that was very comforting. And I hope it makes some of you feel better that there's a track record involved here with other communities. And we are looking forward to having the same experience.
And if I may just circle back to what I started out talking about, which is the fact that this is 100% renewable energy. And it is estimated that through this program, over the next 34 months, depending on, some factors, but the estimate, it's not accurate. It's an estimate, there's, certain factors involved, but the estimate is that we can reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 90,000 metric tons. That's how significant this 100% renewable energy is for our environment, for our health, for our community. And if we're looking at the really bigger picture, New York State has set goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030. That is something that the state has put out there. And they've also put out a goal to reduce, to go to zero emissions by 2040, zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2040. So this is coming down the pike. It's coming from different angles. The state is very earnest in terms of reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and going to 100% renewable energy. So I think I applaud Saugerties and the town for initiating this program and putting it out there for us, that we can make our decision. We can choose to go with it, or we can choose to opt out. So that's kind of where we are right now. But just to close up with, if you do think of any questions after we go off, or some question was answered, but you didn't quite get the answer, or you want to follow up, please, please call Jeff, and I'm going to give you his number. It's 845-859-9099, extension 2. And it's on the letters that you received. And you can contact Leanne or anyone in town to get that number if you need it. So I encourage you to follow up with any questions that you may have. And I thank you all so much for participating this evening. I do hope it was helpful. I hope it was enlightening, and appreciate everyone's giving up their time this evening to find out more about it. So thank you all very much. And thank you very much, Jeff and your team. You've been terrific, and we appreciate your help.
Thanks so much, Mary. And I just have this one last point. I totally nerded out and found a great New York Times article that shows every state mix of fuel sourcing for electricity on a time graph. It's a really cool article, and it mirrored something else I was looking for, but I put that into the chat box too. So to Joseph's question.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Couldn't help but nerd out. All right. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Get out of this.
That's